Hello, my name is Debbie Williamson, and I'm here today to teach you one method on learning violin and viola vibrato. There's many methods to learning vibrato, but I learned this one at the National String Workshop a few years back from the two authors of the Viva Vibrato book. And since then, it's become my favorite way of teaching vibrato, and I've successfully taught it to many students. For this method, you're going to need your violin or viola, no bow, and one piece of toilet tissue. There's a couple prerequisites for success for vibrato, and let me talk about those first. Number one, your wrist has to be upright, okay? Fingers pointing towards the ceiling, okay? And this is because if you have a lazy wrist, you can't really vibrato, okay? It gets in the way. So that's the number one prerequisite. Number two is make sure that you are supporting with your neck and your chin and your shoulder. This is because your hand has to be free to be able to move around and of course vibrato. So, and I highly recommend that you use a shoulder rest of some sort. You don't have to use this particular kind, but it helps a lot to hold it with your shoulder and chin. There are three positions to practice this exercise in. And number one, rest position, which everybody knows. Okay, so we're going to be practicing it in this position. Number two, playing position, which we also all know. And number three is called pointer position. And for this, I have to explain a little bit. Okay, this is our violin viola shoulder. I want you to take it with your hand and put it on your opposite shoulder with the strings facing outward from your body. And then if you would hold on to it with your other hand, and this is my vibrato hand, and then that leaves us free to practice the exercise. Good, so we're pointing straight ahead. Okay, so let's begin by tearing off a corner of our tissue. Doesn't have to be a big piece. And we're going to start with our second finger. And this is the easiest finger to learn vibrato, so that's why I like to start with that one. Okay, take your tissue and put it under your finger. And let's use our second highest string, whatever you have, either A string for violins or D string for violas. And let's lightly polish the string. And don't depress the string. I don't want you to push down on it, just kind of slide across the top of it. And let's use our wrist to do this. Like, I don't want you to use your arm. Like this would be, like my wrist is staying solid and my arm is moving. Or I don't want you to use your finger like this. Okay? So the idea is to loosen our wrist. Okay, good. And polish a really big spot. You can polish the whole way up your neck. Okay, so I'm doing this in rest position now. Let's do the same thing in playing position. Just lightly go across the top of the string and don't depress it, and use mainly your wrist. Now let's try it in the pointer position. And you can just let your thumb go right along with it. Good. Okay, once you feel really comfortable with all three of these positions, and keep going back and forth between playing position, try it some here, try it some here. You know, do this for several days, a couple weeks, whatever you feel like you need to relax your wrist. Next, we're going to do the same thing, and keep your tissue. This is our next step. And we're going to start again by polishing our big spot. Okay, now polish just a littler spots, just a little smaller. I don't care where you go on the fingerboard. Okay, try it in Doesn't have to be any sort of order. Try it in pointer position. Go smaller. And when you go big and alternate back and forth, or smaller, keep the motion going. Big, smaller. Just gliding over the top of the string, do not depress. And now you can try it in playing position as well. Okay, so give yourself some time to practice it in these positions. And then our next step, we're going to take away the tissue. Okay, so this time just slide across. Again, I hope you're still using your wrist. Not a lot of arm, not a lot of fingers. See, my finger's pretty much staying bent the same way. It's not, going like this. Okay, it's just staying bent. Okay, try it in playing position. Now your finger is just sliding. Try it smaller. Try it larger. Go back and forth. Okay, now this goes one step farther. And now I want you to go really small with your exercise. And now pretend like you have glue on your finger and stick it. Okay, go back to big. Smaller. Stick. Okay, try it in other positions. Rest position. Smaller. Stick. Good. Try it in pointer position. Large. Smaller. Stick. Great. And at any time, if you feel like you're stiffening or tightening, once you stick, your thumb can stick with it in the same position, but do not let it really grip the instrument. Okay? You don't want that tightness. So keep it nice and relaxed. Okay, before our final step, which is adding the bow, I want you to try this with your other fingers. We've been doing it with our second finger all this time. Next, try it with your third finger. It's the next most relaxed finger out of our 4 fingers that we're using. And then once you can go through all these steps with your third finger, try it with your 4th finger. I know the 4th finger is the weakest, but it's still easier to do vibrato. Our last finger that we actually do this with is our first. And you would think the first finger might be the one we'd start with. But because of the way our hand is built, when you touch these 2 fingers together, you can feel there's a tightening in there. It's just the way that the muscles are built within our hand. If you do it with second, it's nice and relaxed. Third, it's nice and relaxed. Fourth, nice and relaxed. Even if you try to touch it lightly, there's still some tension in there. So it's the most difficult one to do it with. But you can do it. Okay, my last point is do not expect yourself to be a master at this just by doing this once or twice. Just keep practicing your vibrato, and you can even practice this in class, while you're sitting quietly listening to your teacher in orchestra. But give it time. To master a good vibrato takes months. Okay, and even once you get this initial exercise, you're going to want to adjust it somewhat. You may want to go faster with your vibrato. You may want to go bigger with your vibrato. You may want to go less with your vibrato. Okay, but there's different ways to do a vibrato, and all of them are correct. But you'll want to adjust it a little bit. But this gives you the right motion on what to do. So thank you for watching the video, and I hope this helps you. Thank you.